Hey everyone, New 12 here. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to this next chapter. A lot of high expectations, and I think it'll be met. Still loud. Fuck. Ooh, the massacre chapter. Final truth. There's still another chapter. Don't say it's the final. This story introduces the unit inside and out, using all of the actors. There's no longer a story, it's a public autopsy for all to join. As they say, after loving someone, cut open their belly and eat their organs. It's the same with the stories. The difficulty is quite mild, well suited for those with pride. Ah, beautiful. Time to get destroyed. Hello, purple screen. Actually, that reminds me, I need to change text speed. Don't want that thing to be maxed out. What are you doing? I don't see you playing by yourself that often. All you could do was to nod to my question. Since when do you have your own will? I'm glad. I finally have a sister or a brother. Whatever you are. Okay. Interesting. Whatever it is. I used to be an existence of nothingness, just like you. But I started having my own identity, my own thoughts, and eventually my own body. It's not a surprise to see you having your own will. Welcome to this wide but small world, my sister. You might be my brother, but let me call you my sister until I know your gender for sure. Yeah, don't fucking misgender them. You heartless son of a bitch, whoever you are. Fuck Christ. This is an endless world. That doesn't mean that this world is wide. Well, I guess I should call the world a ring with a small diameter. That's fair. There's no end to this ring. But that doesn't mean that there's a wide range of possibilities in this world. In other words, this is an endless, finite world. The future is supposed to be formed by countless decisions, but for some reason, our lives will always end with death. Okay, I assume this is Rika. Going on a limb here. This is Rika. This is like a maze of fate. After going through the same world over and over again, you'll eventually end up like me. This world continues. It might eventually be filled with a bunch of your sisters. When a colony will be made inside this world, and once we lose our interest in this maze, Furude Rika is going to disappear from this world. Rika is still interested in that small world. Okay, I guess it's not Rika. I guess this is an outside observer on this. But I lost interest a long time ago. I'm so glad to have you. So what are you doing? Hello? Are you collecting pieces of memories? There's only 5 or 6 of them. But I guess it's still fun for you. There used to be more pieces in the past, but they disappeared into the darkness. These are the only pieces left. Oh, that's not how you're supposed to use it. See? Try and hold it up to the light. Those are all Furude Rika's lives and her endings. Ah, fuck, that would be brutal. That one is... Oh, I remember that one. That's the world when Keiji was cursed. I called that one the Onikakushi chapter, because those pieces are like stories to me. Do you remember what happened in the Onikakushi chapter? I do. Good. That makes things easier. Oh god, this is too meta. Stop it. Nope. Leaving. Too meta. In the Onikakushi chapter, Maebara Keiji was taken over by the darkness. I guess not, never mind. He couldn't accept any of his friends' kind words, and eventually beat them to death, not knowing their kindness. We were all killed after that anyway. It had nothing to do with this story, though. That piece is the Watanagashi chapter. Sonozaki Shion was cursed in that one. That had nothing to do with being cursed. She's a fucked up individual without being cursed. She killed many people out of revenge for her boyfriend, who went missing in the 57th year of the Showa era. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a one-sided relationship there. I think he was too stupid to realize that. Rika worked so hard, but she was captured at the end, and she was tortured to death. Oh, joke's on me, I guess. Okay, so I guess Watanagashi is different from the Answer arc. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, there you go. That's why she chose to commit suicide in the Miyakashi arc chapter, because things were going to turn out the same way. So it's like there are two different endings. Beautiful. The other one is called the Tatarigoroshi chapter. Satoka's uncle came back and locked her up inside the house. Ah, beautiful. This was the worst world of all. There was nothing Rika was able to do in that world. Once Satoka's uncle comes back, Rika should just give up on that world. Fortunately, Satoka's uncle doesn't come back that frequently. Oh fuck, is my actual prediction coming true? Mark it. Is my prediction coming true where I said that like it's various like how often these might happen? Hell yes. That'd be dope. That one is called the Tetsumi Horoboshi chapter. Rika was there until just a moment ago. I was too. Well, 48 hours ago. Rika Rena was possessed in that world. It was pretty exciting to see her take over the whole school. No, it wasn't. It surprised me that Maibara Keiichi had a memory of the other worlds, just like us. It was pretty amazing. But then most of us have some kind of memory. We all have an imaginary world, some ideas of what would have happened if I did this and that. It's the strange feeling you get when you do something for the first time, but it feels like it's not your first time. Deja vu. Everyone has a memory of an imaginary world in their mind, but the memory is not that clear. Sure, it's not surprising. Actually, no, that's probably more right than wrong, I would say. Actually, I was about to write that off as complete bullshit. No, it's probably more right than wrong. Now that I actually sit down and I'm thinking about it, yeah. You're special enough to be able to see those pieces of memory. It's probably very difficult for you to understand how special you are. You were born into a world where it's a natural thing for you to see all these pieces. I wasn't originally born in the normal world. I didn't know until recently that I could collect these pieces of memory. You grabbed those pieces just because you could, but I didn't know how to do that for a long time. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're not interested in hearing my story. Actually, no, I'm kind of interested, but sure, go ahead, fuck it. I don't matter. Huh? What's wrong? What are you wondering about? What? You wonder why so many different incidences occur in the same world? I mean, it has to be a form of parallel universe. I mean, it has to be, or it's just repeating itself in a Groundhog Day effect. I know, it's very interesting. Why do you think that's the case? Let's think about it together. Thinking is the first step of playing. Sure. The main character among Rika's friends is Maibara Keiichi. Okay. That's a bright red. Holy shit. It helps that it's completely pitch black in here. Ugh. God, that was vibrant. In the Onikakushi chapter, he was possessed by suspicion, and he killed Ryugu Rena and Sonozaki Mion. Fuck me, that was... I will not forget. God, in that last chapter, that broke me. Ugh. All of my emotions died. They came up, and that was my last of the emotions I had inside of me. All came up in that one instance. Staged a rebellion. If that was an inevitable event, he would be killing them in all of the world. In other words, what Maebara Keiichi does in the Onikakushi chapter is not inevitable. Indeed, the only thing that's inevitable is the role of Maebara Keiichi himself, not itself, himself. He is a person. If Maebara Keiichi was someone with suspicious heart, he would take the same actions in every world. But that didn't happen. It's true that Maebara Keiichi is passionate and easily convinced, but it's rare for him to exhibit the kind of rage he showed in the Onikakushi chapter. In other words, something might seem inevitable in one world, but it may not be the case if you compare the different worlds. That means that if something is inevitable, it will happen for sure in every life. The first four murders, those are inevitable. Those happen in every single world. Actually, up to Takano and Tomitaka, all of that's inevitable. Well, not all of it, because Rena did kill 2 people before, and so those murders, up until Keiichi gets there, it's all inevitable, it seems. That's what a true inevitable event is like. It's very important to know that. Compare the different worlds, and what's common among all the worlds is the truth. Understand? Like I said, what seems inevitable in one life could just be a random event in another life. The club activities that Mion suggests are a good example. If Sonozaki Mion had a strong inclination towards playing certain games, you'd be playing them in every world. No, she's a happy-go-lucky teenage girl who's like, yeah, fuck it. But in reality, you participate in different activities in most of the world. That is true. But I never even suggested that the games were something that were constant, now did I? Haha, game, you can't read my mind. No better than I can read what's going to happen, I can only assume. That means that the games they play in the club are randomly decided by Sonozaki Mion. I'd fucking go along with it, sure, why not? We know that because we've been through many different lives. Those who only live in one world can't see if the event is inevitable or random. Yes, you have to compare them across at least 2 or 3. At least 2, ideally 3 or more. Those who only live once can't predict what's going on in Sonozaki Mion's mind, but we can do that. Although the activities are random, Sonozaki Mion calls us together for the club meeting almost every day in every life. I can see that Sonozaki Mion has a strong will for having the club meeting. I see that as she's more convicted in having friendships and people in close bond. I would say that's more. I would say that's inevitable. That Mion is going to feel passionately towards her friend and she isn't going to give up on one friend. That is inevitable. Sonozaki Mion always wants to play with the club members, but she doesn't know what to play. You know, if we actually just keep talking about her, I would say this is a fucking great chapter so far. 10 out of 10. Would read this again. See? We can read Sonozaki Mion's mind just by simply examining these pieces. I think it's a little more complex than that, but whatever. Just by this, we can see part of who Sonozaki Mion really is. Let me talk a little bit more about Maebara Keiichi. For those who only live once, the world of the Onikakuchi chapter is nothing but a story where Keiichi suffered a mysterious hallucination and beat his friends to death. There's nothing beyond that fact. But we can compare different pieces and find out something they could never see. As a result, we know that the murder of his friends was not inevitable. I told you that in the beginning. In fact, there are about 5 or 6 pieces in front of you, but he only kills his friends in one of them. That means I can conclude that the possibility of him becoming the center of a tragedy is less than 20%. It's 1 in 6. If you want to go in the high end, 1 out of every 6. He is not likely to be a threat in many of the other worlds, so you can kind of push him aside. Can you find anything in common from this hint? You found it already. No wonder you were born in this world. You're a fast learner. I didn't find that out for a while. I'm originally from the normal world, so I couldn't see it easily. I was caught up with the figuring out with who Mayabara Keiichi is. Right. That's exactly right. You see it, the Onikakushi, the Watanagashi, the Meyakashi, and the Tatsumi Horoboshi chapter all have something in common. The first 4 murders? Technically first 5. Someone in the group becomes violent because of dark and paranoid thoughts. Yeah, that too. But not necessarily, not in the third one though. That's the only difference. No, too. Not someone in the group became that, but as they previously stated, this is more of a rarity. But it still happens. In each world, Mayabara Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, or Ryugu Rena become violent after succumbing to the fear. Mayabara Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, and Ryugu Rena are all my close friends, but they were all born and raised differently. Yeah, but they show similar behaviors, which is what's strange. The only common factor is that they all live in Hinamizawa. But I just said it not too long ago. When I raise these pieces up to the light, I see the most important truth. There's not a lot of meaning to those suspects who are not common in all the worlds. Also, the form of their violence is not a big factor either. Mayabara Keiichi beat his friends to death. Sonozaki Shion killed the central people of the 3 families, and Ryugu Rena took over the school and threatened to blow it up. They were all different. There's nothing in common. It's important to recognize that the suspects in the incidents differ all the time, but the fact that they are swallowed by the darkness is exactly the same. The suspect changes every time, but the process is always the same. After comparing the different worlds, this is the truth I found. This is the one truth that is common in this world of Hinamizawa. The rule to this world is that a random person becomes violent under the influence of their dark thoughts. This is Rule X. What about Rule A? Why isn't it Rule A instead of Rule A? What the fuck? Mayabara Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, and Ryugu Rena all got dragged into that rule somehow. I don't know why they were part of that rule. Perhaps there's some kind of law and order to this. Is it because these 3 are all close in age? That wouldn't make sense, because why wouldn't Mion be affected? Because she's a good person. Fuck off, shut up. Or is it because they all live in Hinamizawa? Again, why doesn't Satsuko go insane? Why doesn't Mion go insane? Maybe we don't have enough case studies, but from what it's been presented, we're up to number 7 now. We've gone through 6. Mion hasn't experienced any of this. I can just go ahead and assume hers is a 0% chance of happening, just from the 6 incidences we've seen. Similar to that Tatako won't go crazy psycho killer because we've seen it 0% of the time. It's all I can assume. But we're not detectives. This is not something that a small girl like us, Furude Rika, can figure out. But at least we know that there's a mysterious rule in the world of Hinamizawa. People who only live in one world have no way of knowing that. That's true. It's very true. I'm proud of myself that I figured that out. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out, honestly. When you do look at it all objectively, I mean, it kind of rings true that, hey, all this stuff. I mean, I don't think that rule is very important, though, honestly. Because just because you know that, oh, someone's going to go crazy, it doesn't mean you can prevent it, because it's random every time. There's no way you can prevent it, so it doesn't, and honestly, almost to the point where it doesn't matter. But I guess for you, it's not something surprising. Fuck off. Shut up. Huh? What did you say? I said shut up. That's right, I do need to shut up. If something is common among all worlds, that means it's fated to happen. Some of them easily come to mind, doesn't it? Right, Tomitake Jiro and Takano Miya are always killed in those worlds. On top of that, they are murdered in exactly the same way in every world. It tells me that their deaths are something intentional that happens as the result of someone's strong will. Clearly, it is the same with the other 4 murders as well. and disappearances. This is not the same as the inconsistent violence that happens among my friends. No matter who turns violent, Tomitake and Takano get killed all the time. I know that there's another rule to these worlds. A rule that says Tomitake Jiro and Takano Miya will get killed on the night of Watanagashi. Let's call it Rule Y. Or Rule B for some unknown fucking reason. Do you see there's something humorous going on? Yeah, a bunch of fucking people have to die. Tomitake and Takano are killed in every world, right? In every world, the character who gets cursed always thinks that Tomitake's death has something to do with the danger that's awaiting them. Is it? Yeah, actually. Thinking about it, yeah. It does end up that way. Fuck. The fact that someone turns violent, Rule X, and Tomitake and Takano's deaths, Rule Y, are supposed to be two individual rules, and yet they do play on each other, meaning Rule X is influenced by Rule Y. But they all tend to link them together. Perhaps that's how they fall under the spell of suspicion. Are they aware that someone is actually trying to goad them into linking those two separate incidences together? You can make it that because Rule Y happens, Rule X becomes a scenario. If Rule Y didn't exist, Rule X wouldn't be able to come together. If, for that reason that she pointed out, there's only one way to know about it, but you can't break a rule. Thus, it's a loop. You can't break it. Or unless Tomitake doesn't die, somehow. Prevent his death. Yeah, I already did that. Right. That person is making the world in Hinamizawa a complicated place. You should see at least two suspicious people. You know who they are. That's right. They're Oishi, Kurado, and Takano Miyo. I wrote her off as a fucking troll and he's an asshole. That's how I write them off. You will see who Oishi Kurado is if you connect the previous pieces together. He's a detective who is retiring this year, and he's in a hurry to solve the mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa by any means necessary. After he retires, he has to move away from the village. That's why he's desperate to solve this case before he has to leave Hinamizawa. Why is he obsessed with this case? Because his friend was murdered. That's right. It's because of the first murder involving the manager of the construction site, the victim who was Oishi's close friend. You'll see that if you look at the Himatsubushi chapter. And I did. I saw that. Oishi was there when the dam conflict was at its peak. Same with Akasaka. He saw how the Sonozaki family took control of the Onagafuchi Guardians, and he believed that the Sonozaki family was pulling the strings behind the whole incident. Which they just take credit for. Because they're expected to. Which that's actually pretty... I don't want to say a noble, because it's not something that is necessarily good, but I will say it's a necessary evil that they have to take the blame for everything. Even if it means Mion has to be put under extra suspicion. But it sucks. That's why he has always suspected the Sonozaki family is the suspect of the mysterious deaths in the village. His personal biased belief affected the pitiful persecution complex of each world. Complex victims of each world. As a result, the victims in each world is led to believe that the Sonozaki family is in danger of to themselves. Which is why I would never, ever, if Oishi came to me and even tried to even suggest that I'm willing to believe anyone else is guilty, but not me. Fuck you. And just turn him away at that point. That's how I know I would never, ever succumb to it. Sasaki Shion's case was the most conspicuous case in that matter. If Oishi hadn't interfered with the victim so much, they wouldn't have reacted so violently. He's someone who causes the tragedy indirectly. I could see that. I don't know who named him this, but Oyashiro-sama's servant is the perfect nickname for Oishi. That's fair. He really is, though, because he kind of goads them into going farther. The other suspicious person is Takano Mio, a fucking troll. She is the internet troll before the internet was a thing. That is all she is. It seems like all she does is talk about the scary history of Onagafuchi to intimidate other people. Yeah, it is. However, just like Oishi, she also gives people the idea that the Sonozaki family is controlling all the mysterious incidences that happen in the village. She interfered the most with Ryugu Rena. For Takano Mio, it's easy to use Ryugu Rena. But ironically, Takano Mio always ends up getting killed at the end. Poetic justice. If she had survived and seen Rena take over the school, she would have laughed so much. Have you realized that these two suspicious people are also following the common rules? They talk about the Sonozaki family, and the listeners always believe them. This rule Z. Why not C? Fuck off! And what a humorous rule it is. You should already have an answer to this mystery. Rule Z that if whoever badmouths the Sonozaki family, it has to be believed. Fuck off. The fact is that the Sonozaki family always acts as if they are responsible, no matter what happens. If they were always pretending to be the bad guys and made sure that people continued to fear them, as a result, the villagers always believed that the Sonozaki family had been pulling the strings ever since the dam conflict ended. Oishi Kurado and Takano Mio were simply fooled by that rule. Actually, the whole village is fooled by it. But the more I think about it, the stranger the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa strikes me. Do you know why? I don't know about the previous incidences, because all I have is the memory from the 58th year of the Showa era. But the fact that they are trying to tie up all the incidences together may be the big mistake. They might be relating distinct individual murders as one big case. I can't tell that by the pieces I have. But I should have a hint somewhere. Each case is supposed to be solved already, individually, but if you look at it as a whole, it's not solved. I don't know if that's true, but it might be the truth. Shion was saying something interesting in the Miyakashi chapter. It's the curse system that she came up with. Do you remember that? Vaguely. Her theory was that the villagers believe that they are allowed to kill the enemy on the village, or the enemy of the village on the night of Watanagashi in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. She believes that the curse happens because murder is allowed on that night. The only problem with that is, what would keep people from killing a bunch of people? Because other people might perceive other people as enemies of the village. So I mean, what would stop with just one or two? I can't examine this theory solely based on the memory of the 58th year of the Showa era, but this is interesting. Her theory is telling us that the suspect is not the one who's committing the crime. It's the environment that's causing the murder. People tend to analyze the whole life of a criminal, but that's not the point. The real crime is committed not by the criminals, but by the environment. I'm going to disagree on that. In other words, criminal A might have committed the crime, but the poor environment might have created criminal B as well as criminal C. Criminal A might not even be a bad guy in another world. Therefore, the real criminal is not A, but the environment that creates A, B, and C. You can look at it from that perspective, but some people have a propension for crime no matter the environment. You can have the best environment ever and still turn out to be a criminal. Because that's just what happens. Because you put people in certain environments, it doesn't create a criminal. Except for some people. But it's not the environment that creates it, it's just their own psyche and their own personal belief system. Their own moral code. But I mean, there's a lot of other shit to go along with it. Of course, it's not just environment, it's not just the person. It's a combination of a lot of different factors, but it's not mainly the environment. People who live in a single world can come up with this theory. It's more likely, though, that people would just lynch Criminal A and overlook his environment. Did I confuse you? I'm sorry. You didn't confuse me, I just disagree with that premise. Was my explanation too confusing? No, again, I disagree with the premise. I understand an environment. Obviously, if you live in a poor environment that's surrounded with other crime, that's obviously going to breed more crime. That environment is unsafe. But you can live in a rich, frou-frou society and still become a criminal. No matter how wealthy a group of people may be, there's still crime associated with that group of people. No matter the environment. Because crime happens no matter what. As long as you have humans, you have crime. That's just how it works. It's easy for me to see it like that because I'm from the normal world. Let me make it simple for you. The real suspect of these worlds is not an individual like Maebara Keiichi or Sonozaki Shion, it's the environment. The rules of the world are the real suspect. In this instance, I wouldn't say it's just them because just the environment because it only affects those three, Maebara, Shion, and Rena. It only affects those three, no one else. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily just the environment because it has to do with their mental makeup. So it's not just the environment. You're in a pretty good shape if you realize that. All you need to do is to identify the three rules within this village. Rule X, Y, and Z. And why not A, B, and C, for fuck's sakes? That will put you in a better position. Once you understand this, you'll be able to find the truth much easier. See? Isn't it fun? These worlds seem so different, yet there are only three rules that govern them. I had a whole different idea of how they're all interconnected, but what the fuck ever, sure. There's three rules binding them together. This is very interesting. If this was a different place, you wouldn't see much difference in each world. It keeps me excited to just stay here and watch these worlds. Anyway, there's one more piece of the truth that I can see. That's the biggest issue Furude Rika is facing. The truth is that Furude Rika is always killed at the end. Rule A. If they fucking go to Rule A, Furude Rika dies. Fuck, well, that's a good Rule A. It's as if June of the 58th year of the Showa era has a dead end for her. It's not just a random thing, it happens all the time. That means it's the same pattern as the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. It's following the exact same rule, Rule Y. Tomitake Jiro and Takano Mio are always murdered on the night of Watanagashi. Furude Rika's date of death is not always the same, but she's always dead by the middle of June. Middle to late. Tomitake and Takano are probably attacked on their way home, so that's why it always happens on the same night. But the case of Furude Rika is different. She takes different actions in every world, and her lifestyle is very unpredictable. For that reason, the day of her death is not always the same. She needs to go get a fucking gun. Anyone who comes in, fucking kill him. Fuck him. I'm killing every son of a bitch that comes near me. However, she always dies in June. Because someone has a strong intention to kill her in June. I wish I had enough fucking strength of will to be able to will my just innate desires to force the world to adhere to it. That would be the fuck. Why can't I have it? Can it be that the death of Furude Rika is related somehow to the deaths of Tomitake and Takano? Is the same person killing all three of them? I doubt it. I doubt it. Maybe it is. I don't know. I just don't feel like it. I don't know if it's done by the same person, but I'm sure they're all connected. Is it the same person or the same organization? Probably the same organization if I had to guess. I don't think it's the exact same person. Maybe same organization if I had to agree. Do they have the same views or the same goals? They probably have an end goal that they're in the way of. Rika's biggest goal is to get away from her deadly fate. I want to live. But it doesn't mean that she just wants to leave the village and survive. No, fuck. Bye. She wants to live happily in the village. No, fuck that shit. I want to live. That's what I would say. How many years have I lived through this? Yeah, okay. I think it's time just to get a fucking plane ticket. I'm going to the US for a couple years. All of her friends must also be happy with her. I only have one. I'm not asking for too much. I'm not greedy. You're asking for too much. That's the happy future that she hopes for. I have one. I have one happy future that I'm holding out hope for. Mion lives and lives happily. That's all. All I'm asking for. It's not much. I could give two shits about all the other main characters. Fuck them. They can all burn. Screw them. Though Keiichi living, it would be nice. Mion can have some company. It would be nice, you know. But everyone else, fuck them. Scorch the earth. I don't care. As long as they live happily, a full life. I'm done. That's all I need. Fuck everyone else. Fuck your feelings. I don't care.